For sure. Wait, some people are like, all right, let's go. Okay.
Perfect.
All right, welcome everyone. We've got Coach Drinkwitz here. Coach, why don't you begin with an opening statement?
Okay, thank you. Excited for a great matchup with the 24th ranked Boston College Eagles. You know, appreciate our fan base for selling out the game, and we're them to make it a special environment and make it a loud environment. It's going to be an awesome game of college football. I think it's the only ranked game on Saturday, or the only game between two ranked opponents, and so we're going to need to make sure that we set the crowd and make sure that the crowd's really good. We need all the advantages we can get. This is a really, really good football team. They're battle tested, obviously, with their road win versus Florida State. I think they're very polished as a team. I think Coach O'Brien has done a tremendous job with, obviously, not only the transition from taking over for Coach Hafley, but also the program alignment. You can tell in all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams are aligned in how that they play the game. You can definitely see the imprint of Coach O'Brien on the offensive side of the ball with his development of Thomas Castellanos. SVP compared him to Kyler Murray, and I think that's a very good comparison. We have him, 73% completion percentage. He's got 6 touchdowns and 0 turnovers on the season. Is a dynamic player with his feet, but I think he's a very accurate passer. The play is never the ball in his hands, and he does a really good job of playing the play. Have a really good offensive line and a dominant line of scrimmage. They've always been a really good offensive line. 2 years or 3 years ago, they had 2 99-yard drives against us, dominating on the run on the ground, and so we definitely have a tremendous amount of respect for the offensive line play that they have. They've got a really good group of wide receivers. They've added a transfer wide receiver that also has. We know him well for him as a player, and know that he has really game-breaking speed. They've got out of the transfer running back position. Ward is competing against him at Kansas State and does a really good job catching the backfield. So offensively, they're very good, very dynamic schedule, create explosive plays, quarterback explosive plays with his feet, as well as his arm. I think their offensive coordinator with his scheme design does a really nice job. Again, when you're talking about Coach O'Brien, whether it's been in college football with what he did at Penn State or in the NFL with what he's accomplished, Deshaun Watson's best years were with Coach O'Brien as his head coach and quarterbacks coach, and so got a lot of respect for how he approaches offensive football. Their defensive coordinator's got a lot of time both in the NFL and in various leagues, and Tim Lewis Very good at the line of scrimmage, return 4 starters on the defensive line, return their middle linebackers, so they're strong in the middle. Very good at stopping the run, creating surge at the line of scrimmage. Their linebackers played really well downhill. They're a very difficult matchup in the secondary. Nothing's easy back there. Play a lot of variations of coverage. So it's going to be a real challenge for our offense and defense. We're going to have to play better than we've had the past 2 weeks. We're going to have to clean up penalties. Going to have to play fundamentally sound. We're going to have to find ways to create explosives in the pass game. Going to have to be a lot more physical at the line of scrimmage. We're going to have to sustain blocks without holding. So a lot of things that we can improve on, that we're going to have to improve on in order to compete in this game. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
I saw a clip earlier this week where you called the loss at BC a couple years ago one of the low points of your career. Why does that one stick with you?
I just think at that moment, that game was hard for a lot of different reasons. I didn't think we played particularly well. There was a lot of noise around that game for comments that were made by me. So learned a hard lesson as a head coach there. And then obviously, to the emotional swings of that game, we came back, tied it up. Time we throw a pick the first play, first time having to deal with the crowd rushing the field and, trying to navigate your way off the field. So a lot to it, yeah.
Eli, I know you're in the midst of game prep. Are you able to appreciate at all how much of a different spot that this program is at, than it was a couple years ago when it visited Boston College?
No, I haven't really thought about it. I appreciate try to definitely stay in the moment and understand that it's a special thing to be at Faurot Field in a sold-out crowd, and have actually acknowledged that to a couple of coaches who've been with us the whole time that are on the sideline, whether you're talking about Coach Looper or Coach Smith or Coach Link. I've went up to them before the game and said, man, we've come a long way since we first got here. But, at the end of the day, Boston College is a really good football team. They were a really good football team in 2021. And so it'll be a really difficult matchup for us. It'll be a really good football game. Yeah.
What has Bill Bryant done to kind of take away the mistakes that Traciano's made maybe in previous ball game situations that we've seen things put them into to set up for success on that?
I think probably the biggest thing is just maturity at the quarterback position. I think the game slows down for you the more reps you get. Obviously, offensively, they're taking a little bit more advantage of. I think they kind of just put him in a box, so to speak, last year and said, "Hey, we're going to create, dynamic run game for you, and then play action pass." I think they're treating him as he should be, which is a really good player at the quarterback position, and they don't really define what he has to be. He's growing in a lot of different ways. Last week they went empty quite a bit with him and let him throw the ball vertically down the field based off what the coverage was giving him, and so that's a lot of growth there. And then, there hasn't been a lot of quarterback designed runs for him so far. Now I'm sure they've got them, but so far it's just been taking what the defense gives us, and they're going to establish a line of scrimmage, which is always the quarterback's best friend when you can be in advantageous third downs. So, I think, again, Coach O'Brien has a philosophy and a system, and I think his offensive coordinator is doing a really good job calling plays for him.
When you with these sort of you touched on his athleticism, but
Mm-hmm.
how much harder does that get to contain with the way they use those running backs in like wheel and flat route situations?
Yeah, it's really difficult. It kind of dictates what you're going to have to do from a coverage standpoint. You can try to play man-to-man and spy him, but you got to make sure your spy is good enough to tackle him, or you can play zone, and when you play zone, you're going to typically be down a man in the box. So then they're able to, define the run game the way they want to. So it's definitely a chess match. I don't think you can go in and say we're going to do just this one thing or we're going to just do this thing and hope that works. I think you're going to have multiple, options and see which one kind of plays.
When you look at your defense and you think about kind of along the way this thing has been built with new players, new coordinators, new coaches, what are some of those things along the way that happened that has led to what we've seen the first couple of weeks?
Well, I think it's player driven. I think that's the most important part of it is, the resurgence on the defensive side of the ball has always been player driven, and I think whether it's you look at even 3 years ago when it started to turn, you've got a lot of those same guys here. You had players like Darius Robinson and obviously J.C. Ennis, KAD, and those guys at the beginning of it and continuing to build on that standard. And now those guys are gone, and you still have Christian Williams and Joseph Charleston. You got Johnny Walker, you got Triston Newson, you got Chris Norwood. Then you got Marvin Burks, Trevez, who've all seen what the standard is. And then you add new guys to it who understand I've got to play up to a standard that's not driven by coaches or whatever. It's driven by the men in this room. I'm not going to let these guys down. In order for me to play, I got to play at a level that they demand. And I think that's where it starts. Obviously, you've always got good, you got to combine great standards and players with great schemes. And I think Coach Batoon has done an excellent job figuring out what our defensive players can do well. They play with great effort, but they play within a scheme. And then we've added competitive depth, and so there's not a big variance between, what y'all call starters and backups. We just call first wave and second wave. The first wave of our defense, I think our leading tackler actually, if Champ's not our leading tackler, he's in the top 3, and he doesn't even run out there first, but he's a really, really good player. And so we've got waves of players, whether you're talking about defensive tackle, defensive end, linebacker, corner. So there's not really much fall off.
How is Johnny in particular, how has he grown going into this year? What are the differences?
Well, I think physically he's continuing to get better. He's a guy that came in at 205 pounds, and now he's 255, continuously rushes the passer well, continuing to, whether it was previous D-line coach or current D-line coach, he's taken different techniques and styles and learned, added more tools in his toolbox from each one of those guys. I think obviously being voted captain, he's taken on a leadership role. I think he's done a really good job with Will and with Jalen, taking those guys under their wings and making sure that they understand developing as a process and becoming the player that you want to be. And then, I remember in the spring, there was a couple of days where we weren't playing very well on defense, and he had a players-only meeting, just to remind them it wasn't about the coaches, it's about us in this room and about how hard we play and the effort we play with, and that doesn't matter, what the coordinator is. So I think those are some things.
Coach, what has made Johnny and Joe Moore work in that boundary and role this year so far, especially with some of the sacks against Buffalo?
Yeah, in fact, I on our third down prowler package, we actually put Joe and Johnny in there at the same time. And so, I think that's Coach Early and Coach Batoon trying to put our you have best players, but then you have players who are better at specific things. Yes, Coach Malzahn used to always say he's better at other things. You got to figure out what they're good at and then use them in those strengths. And I think Coach Early and Coach Batoon figured out real quickly that, hey, these two guys have really good pass rush moves and really do a good job containing the quarterback in their pass rush. And so, that allows us to do a lot of different things within the prowler package. So I think that's been a advantageous deal. As far as in the boundary position, those guys have athleticism, flexibility. Typically your field end's going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit more stout, and so that's why Zion and Eddie and Ja'Kai play to that area.
You mentioned explosiveness especially in the passing game, but how pleased have you been just with your efficiency, especially with Buffalo kind of willing to give up the short stuff? I think because they're third in the country in first downs, even if you aren't getting a lot of long plays, you're getting down the field and scoring points.
Yeah, I think that's a sign of growth and maturity from all of us on the offensive side of the ball. We all want it now. We're instant gratification. We all want explosive plays. You'd rather be on Sports Center for that than 3 yards in a cloud of dust or 5-yard hitches. But the reality of what we're figuring out is that teams don't really want to give up explosive plays versus our wide receiver core. So we have to be willing to make them defend us in a different manner. And I think our offensive staff, in the first 2 games has done a really good job of figuring out what the defensive plan against us was, and then, even having to come up with stuff that maybe wasn't in the game plan that we know, defeats this or defeats that. And I think that's, again, just Coach Moore does an excellent job on the offensive side of the ball with his group and able to communicate with the quarterback, able to calm those guys down. I think, there's a little bit of impatience with the offense at times. It's 3-0 at the end of the first, and we've missed a field goal and we're not really where we want to be. But I think he did a really good job of settling them down in that first drive of the second quarter and getting them in the end zone, and then just calming them down. Like, guys, it's going to be a little bit of a grind. It's going to be a little bit of a grinded out style for us right now, and we can't be afraid of it.
Last season, y'all played an elite running quarterback in Cayden Green. Are there lessons learned from his big day that you'd like to see apply on Saturday in terms of containing Thompson Esquianos, especially with his legs?
Wow, you brought up some bad memories there. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. In fact, there was a conversation with me and Joe Moore yesterday in Monday's practice about, a lesson that we learned. There was a 3rd and 7, when we had the lead in the fourth quarter, and we talk all week about level rushing quarterback. You can't rush past the quarterback, especially with a guy who can take off. And so, there's a lot of different things that occurred in that game. There's a lot of new players here, but some of the guys who played last year can obviously understand some of the mistakes that we made. Obviously, the game plans are totally different. It's a different style of offense on both sides. Boston College huddles, which they did show no huddle last week, but Boston College typically huddles and plays a little bit more out of a 12 personnel, and we'll play 11 and 10. But they're personnel based on and off the field. I mean, LSU played 11 fast as you can go. So there are some differences there. The things that we've tried to do is, obviously, Champ Flagg and Eddie played against the quarterback last year, and so tried to take, okay, what did y'all think about them? What were some things that he did from a player standpoint that you can let the rest of us know, so we can get a little bit of an early scouting report? And both were consistent in saying that he's as fast as any quarterback they've ever played against. He does a really good job of extending plays, and if you don't have a specific plan for containing him, then it's going to be a long day.
Coach, what were your first thoughts when seeing Triston Newson play, and how has he grown since then to be a key contributor on the defense?
Well, our first thoughts when we saw him play in junior college and recruiting, typically, we weren't necessarily recruiting junior college players as much because the portal opened. But he was a dynamic player at the linebacker position. I know Coach Smith got a live eval on him. He came in the spring and flashed, and thought he did some really, really good stuff in the spring. But he was playing behind a really good player in Tyron Hopper, and didn't really always want to take him off the field. So I thought he did an excellent job of just trusting the process, not getting frustrated with his role, embracing his role, improve every day. And when the opportunity came after Hop got dinged, man, he took full advantage of it. And I think he's still taking advantage of it now. The difference is that he doesn't have to feel the necessary need to play. Hop was playing, of the 65 plays, Hop would play 50, 54, 55. I think Triston can play, a nice 25 plays on defense and then add another 12 on special teams. I think one of the most impressive things about Champ so far is that he starts on 3 teams or 2 teams for sure, and rotates in on a third. So his ability to play defense at a high level, but also be able to help us on special teams, those have not necessarily shown up in the bigger stats yet, but they will over the course of these games as we play.
I know it's still early in the week, and it's only been a couple days since Saturday, but how are Luther and Theo feeling?
Yeah, both feeling good. I'm going to try to just stick with that. I guess it's not really fair to y'all because y'all don't get the SEC. The SEC only reports if it's SEC to SEC games, right? So Luther's, I would say, probable. Theo's probable. I'm not concerned about either one of those right now. Brett Norfleet would be questionable. He'll practice today. We'll see kind of where he's at. Cam Johnson's questionable. We'll see. He should go out there in a green jersey today, kind of see where he's at. Unless y'all have some inside information, I'm not going to answer any more questions about injuries.
Eli, I think your two starting corners are the only players that have been over about 30, 35 snaps. Where do you, is that, how do you feel about the depth there? Do you have guys that you're comfortable, like at some of the other positions where you don't think there's much of a drop-off, or is the separation bigger there?
No, no, there's not. We feel very good about really our top four. Jamarian Wayne's really been dinged up with his hamstring. He practiced yesterday. He looks to be, I hope that he really can go this week. I don't know where to define that. It's probably still questionable, but that's a guy who hasn't been able to play and help us at the corner position. We have total confidence in Nick DeLoach. I think those numbers get overinflated because the Prowler package, we sub in 6 DB or 6 body types, but we sub in a corner and we have to keep the 2 starting corners in. We have total confidence in Nick DeLoach, so much confidence. I think he starts on 3 special teams also. So I think that's where the reps are, but there's no reason that we know Chris can play, we know Marcus Clark can play, we know Nick DeLoach can play, we know Toriano can play. We really need to get Jamarian Wayne going, so we have that 5th. And I tell you what, man, we really, really like Cam Keys and Jaren Sensabaugh. Those guys have done a really nice job in fall camp and really have carved out. If they were closer in the depth chart, they would have carved out a spot for them on the special teams. But we just don't want to use them in special teams if we're not going to be able to commit to them enough reps on team. It's one of those fine lines where you don't want to use a player's season if they're not going to get 300, 350 reps on the year.
Don't you have any lingering concerns with the field goal operation after a couple of misses?
No, I don't get too concerned on 52 yards and 49-yard misses. Those aren't layups. I was more concerned with our offense's inability to get them closer. In our offense's missed execution right there on the 2-minute drive. We were in a much easier field goal range and don't execute that last play, throw it 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Tailback decides he's going to go NCAA 25 on us and push like 3 of his own buttons, like spin, juke, spin, move left. So I was way more worried about that than our field goal kicker. I've got all the confidence in the world in him. It was a little bit windier going to the north, so that 52-yarder into the wind was going to be a tough task. As long as he's solid inside the 25 and then I'm good.
We talked about limiting penalties. What did you see on film that's brought about some of these penalties?
Well, quite honestly, the alignment penalties are just embarrassing. As the head football coach, that's on me. That's undisciplined football, and for me to allow that, to happen. We had alignment penalty in the first game, and to have it again in the second game, that's on me. So that's got to get corrected and get taken off the tape. We took a 5-minute period yesterday with just alignment to make sure we don't have too many guys on the ball or not enough guys on the ball. So, that's got to get corrected. The holding penalties. We got to learn to let go. When the ball's out leveraged, when a defender is broken away, we cannot continue to engage with the jersey of the defender. And so there were 3 of those that were clear calls, easy calls that are something that we have to correct. And you appreciate guys playing with effort and energy, but they got to know when it's crossing the line into a penalty. The other ones we'll be all right with. We'll figure that out.
Anything else for Coach? Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
I believe Triston Newson will be next.
Y'all got a good one there. Country, go in there and light it up.
I would say just staying dialed in, focus on our task, trying to execute every play that we get. So we most definitely taking advantage of the opportunity.
During fall camp, you said Chad and Tyron helped you kind of learn to keep your pace.
Mm-hmm.
A year later, what does that look like for you, and how has that helped you, in your game?
Just staying focused on the field because it can get like sped up so fast, and I'm gonna reword that. So like, I try to keep my pace and stay focused because like I don't want to try to get off topic or run into something that not my job. So.
Triston, when you look at tape, what jumps out at you about a quarterback like Thomas Castellanos?
Can you say it again?
When you look at tape, what jumps out at you about Boston College's quarterback Thomas Castellanos?
Real shifty, quick. He's a good player. It's just somebody that we ready to go against. I think it'll be good for us to play against him.
At your position specifically for a linebacker, what are the keys? What kind of stress does a guy that's that mobile put on you guys in the middle of the field?
I think we just got to be ready to contain him, be ready to run. A guy like him, he can come out of the backfield so quick. So it's just somebody that we got to be ready to contain and run after. So.
Triston, go ahead. What kind of balance to strike with the way not only Thomas Castellanos runs, but the way that they use their running backs as well?
Just staying focused and playing your gap, cause like how quick and how shifty they is, so like it's so close, it's so precise that you want to be on point and stand in your gap and keeping your eyes on the right target, right reads.
Triston, what impresses you about Corey Flagg?
Corey Flagg, man, he's a dog. Like I love Corey Flagg. I like watching his film from his previous school and just the way he handled his business. He keep me on top of the film, keep me motivated. Just one of the guys. I really love Corey Flagg.
You guys have four linebackers you all split reps pretty evenly. How big a difference can you tell that makes in how fresh you all are?
Yeah, that's really good for our group. Being able to have two other guys to come in and play right after maybe a long drive, and they come in fresh leg, fresh lungs, and so I think that's pretty good for the group.
There was a point last season where I think you guys were down two linebackers.
Yeah.
How much of a difference have you felt this year?
Yeah. So I think it's been good for the defense. Corey come in, Khalil and Corey come in. They be so like ready to get in and so pumped up, so that's pretty good for us. And then sometimes we'll try to mix it up. I go in with Khalil go in with Chuck. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Triston, because of the way that they play offensive football and the way that they shift different packages, motion with the tight ends, sometimes multiple motions with two tight ends depending on the set. How much does that challenge your eye discipline?
Yeah, so it is kind of challenging. So it's just for us to stay on top of the tape and make sure we stay disciplined on our keys and our reads, because that is something that is kind of challenging.
Coach Drinkwitz just mentioned that Johnny Walker had called players only meeting back in spring to try and get the defense pointed in the right direction. How important was that meeting, if you look back on it now, to the kind of defense we've seen the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's very important. We try to hold our bond together. It shouldn't be things that coaches have to tell us that we can solve problems ourselves without the coaches. So that's something very important. I think we should keep doing things like that.
Triston, what's kind of the partnership with your position and Johnny's position in that boundary and role when he's on the field?
Yeah, so it's like we play off of each other, he take a gap, I take a gap, so it's really important. We try to stay, all the free time we get, we try to talk and make sure we dialed in on top of things.
Triston, during fall camp, you said you wanted to be a guy that showed the younger guys the ropes and be able to get on that room. What does that look like through these first 2 weeks and when you've actually gotten some game time?
That's one thing. I try to stay on top because like being able to come out the field at the beginning of the fourth, and start to roll the younger guys in, we want to set the pace for the guys to know, like, keep your eyes disciplined, stay on top of your reads. So I think that's really important for me and Chuck and Khalil, all the older guys, to, set that for the younger guys, because I think if we keep shutting out, they're going to get more playing time. So.
Triston, Coach Drinkwitz mentioned that the message ahead of the Buffalo game
make the most of it.
Mhm.
What does that mean to you personally, not only for the 1-0 mindset you guys are trying to establish, but also just taking every opportunity for what it's worth?
Yeah. So for me personally, man, that's been big. Ever since I got here, I want to take advantage of every opportunity I got, and I'm pretty sure that's with all the other linebackers that we got too. But yeah, man, just we want to take advantage of every opportunity that we got going on the field, because like coming out of fall camp, we went against our offense, pretty good offense, and it was day that we couldn't stop them. So we want to take advantage of every team that we get in front of.
Anything else for Triston? All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Really not. Because I don't want to wear it.
We got Marcus Carroll.
Marcus, coming off the first two games, you guys have been very efficient, but Coach Drinkwitz mentioned not a lot of big plays. Is that something that needs to happen, or is the offense fine to operate the way it has?
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where it's continuously improving week in, week out. So yes, the explosive plays, we can definitely continue to improve on it. But yeah, just something you just keep improving on.
How much off coverage Buffalo was playing? Does that help you out all as a runner to have some more space to move before you have a lot of guys in your space?
Oh yeah, especially with the outside zone, the off coverage, with them bailing like that, and a lot of RPOs we do and stuff like that. Just take advantage of those little opportunities. So yeah, it's definitely good. No, right.
What does Brady's running ability bring to the offense? How does that help the overall running game?
Oh man, yeah, it definitely it helps us out a lot. I mean, you either guard us with the run, or then Brady a bootleg and put it. I mean, it adds a great element to our offense, especially with the receivers we have and O-line stuff like we have. So I mean, yeah, it makes it way more dangerous.
Marcus, especially last season when you carried the ball upwards of 270 times, to now have a lot of different running backs being able to take a load off of you and they know well too. Do you feel a difference in how fresh you are right now?
Oh yeah, definitely, most definitely. And even just learning from different guys. Everybody has their own style and stuff, but yeah, definitely feel fresh coming into that game. no, without a doubt.
All the talk about Boston College seems to be about their offense and their quarterback, but when you watch their defense, what stands out to you?
Man, they got a good front seven. Their linebacker, I think he converted from a safety to linebacker. That he played linebacker last year. He got a little twist to him. I mean, they're a great bunch. And like I said, that front seven, they're good. They're good. We'll be ready to compete though.
Marcus, what have been the takeaways for you through 2 games playing in this offense, just of how it kind of works after getting seated in the game?
Yeah, I just really just how everybody just doing their part, and it just having fun, man. Those guys there, it's fun playing with those guys. Just executing on a high level. It's definitely a great feeling with the offense I'm in.
What's impressed you about Kewan Lacey and some of the reps he's got in the game?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, Kewan, he works hard. He really does work hard. He has a lot of want to, a lot of grit, man. And just seeing him out here, just when he get his carry, he's just making the most out of it, And I'm proud of him personally. And that's what a lot of running backs in the room. But yeah, Kewan, he's gonna be great.
On the read play where Brady kind of has the option to hand it off or keep it, everybody focuses on the quarterback's job there, right, and know when to pull it. But when you're the running back, how tough is that to? And kind of what do you have to go through knowing, hey, you might pull this out? Is there a point where you know it's your play?
Yeah, I think you just got to treat every play like the same, as if I was getting the ball, carrying out the fake and stuff like that, and ultimately I know Brady's gonna make the right read. So if he pulls it, then I know he sees something or the end crashed or something like that. So yeah, I mean every play is really the same. Just carrying out my fake as if I was gonna get the ball anyway. So.
I think a lot of people coming into this year, when they thought of Missouri's offense, was thinking deep balls down the field, explosive plays. And through the first 2 games, it's been a lot more methodical. What does that show you about the team's ability to really stretch the defense in any?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, like I said, just everybody embracing their role and then doing their part. I mean, man, we're taking advantage of the run game. Like I said, we have some great receivers, great quarterback, tight ends, O-line, man. And just when you can run the ball too, it just adds it has a bound on that defensive coordinator, especially once the game plan. Are you good?
Sorry, my bad. On that touchdown run by Brady, like that 31-yard touchdown run in that game, Nate Noel picked up a big block down the field. What does that do for the other running backs? Seeing him go and make that play, make that block, and how does that affect your mindset on potential block?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great play, great effort play by Nate Noel. I mean, that end of that's the standard. You play for it. If you don't have the ball, you play for it. That's what you're supposed to do. But yeah, I mean, that's the mindset. You know, I mean, it's a team sport. You play for your brother. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was a great play by Nate Noel, and just continuously have that same type of effort on every play.
Marcus, Coach Drinkwitz told us that the message before the Buffalo game was to take every opportunity. They make the most of it. What does that mean to you personally, not only for the 1-0 mindset this team is trying to build, but also for you to make the most of all of your opportunities that you get?
Oh yeah, I mean that like you said, Coach Drink says it all the time. 1-0 mindset, taking advantage of it. I mean, we're really fortunate and blessed to play this game. You know, a lot of people don't get to play this game. So, like you said, just taking advantage of every opportunity and just having fun. So, I mean, yeah, that's really what it is.
Anything else for Marcus?
Appreciate y'all.
Cayden Green. Two games in, how does it feel to be in Missouri?
It feels great, man. I'm more than happy to be here.
Oh, go ahead, bro. I was just gonna say, how has it been playing alongside Connor and Marcus?
It's dope. Those are 2 guys with a lot of experience, and they really help me when I need help. And it's just really cool to play with guys with so much experience.
How would you evaluate your performance through the first couple of games?
Not good enough. I got to be better. I got to help these guys up front. I got to help Brady and the running backs. But the good news is we got a good test this week and a really good Boston College D-line. So.
And you're still just a sophomore. I feel like sometimes people can forget that. So what were some things the coaches were wanting you to work on during the off season? How do you feel like you're doing so far in accomplishing whatever it is?
They wanted me to get better at everything. There's room for improvement in every area. I try not to use the being young as an excuse, because at the end of the day, I have to get the job done, and I got guys counting on me. So.
You mentioned the Boston College defensive front. What stands out when you watch them on film?
Yeah, they're big. They're physical. Watching that Florida State game, they really just out-physicaled them, and they got a lot of draft picks on that D-line, so it'll be a good test, and excited to see where we're at.
How can you guys continue to get better?
Just playing more together. This O-line is still fairly new, other than the right side and the center, so we're still trying to get gelled together, and we're just getting better every week.
Has it helped at all that there's kind of been a ramp up in competition week to week heading into Boston College?
Yeah, I mean, this is the biggest game we played in this year, but I think the first two games, being who we played the first two games, it was really good for us to get kind of more gelled together and stuff like that. So
having Mitch in for Cameron in the last game, I mean, does that make it? Can you tell any difference when somebody switches out, or was it business as usual?
I don't know. Mitch came in, he did his thing. He had only been playing guard for like 2 days before that. So I think it's good to have a guy like that on your team who can play guard or tackle and can come in whenever.
Being just 2 hours away from home, have you had more family people looking out to these first couple of games?
Yeah, I have. My family comes down. They stay at my place after games, so it's pretty cool. I enjoy that.
Cayden, one of the areas that Eli Drinkwitz has harped on these past couple of weeks have been penalties, especially along the offensive line. What is the process of fixing those penalties actually look like in order to mitigate those in the future?
We just got to work on getting our hands inside. We talk to refs before the game and during the week so we can see kind of what kind of officiating we're dealing with. And so we work off of that throughout the week, work on getting our hands inside and finishing blocks, but not finishing, in a bad position.
Coach Drinkwitz talked specifically about with holdings, just being able to let go when the play is over. Is that almost a mental thing too, to just disengage?
Yeah, I mean, up front, our mentality is we're trying to finish people all the time. So sometimes we go a little bit overboard. We just got to work on not going so overboard sometimes.
Have you and Armand had first game or first practice, kind of like a flashback to growing up and playing together?
Oh, yeah, it was pretty cool. We actually saw a picture. Coach Jones sent us a picture week 1. It was me and him running out the tunnel together. And it was just so cool, so surreal. It was kind of like we just looked at each other and we were like, we're back. Like, this is dope. So.
Did you ignore a lot of the outside noise that came in whenever you transferred? How did you handle that?
I just deleted Twitter. You don't have it, you can't even see what's going on. So I just stay off social media, and it's really helped me be able to lock in and focus too. So.
And what else has led to kind of your comfort? You mentioned that you're really comfortable here. What are some of the things that have led to that immediate comfort level?
Yeah, I would say the room, my coaches, my offensive line coach, Coach Jones. This place was always so really high for me out of recruiting. I just wasn't sure, with the offensive line coach change, I wasn't sure how long the previous O-line coach would be there. So when I went to the portal, I pretty much knew where I wanted to be. So the guys in the room have helped out a lot. My coaches helped out a lot. Coach Drink has helped out a lot. And it's just really one big family here.
You've known him for a while. How has Armand changed over the years that we've seen him develop?
You mean like as a player or as a person? I mean, as a player, he's just like his football IQ's through the roof. He was kind of just playing in high school last time I played with him, but now, like, he calls out blitzes and twists before they even come. So his football IQ is just going through the roof.
Anything else for Cayden? All right.
Thank you.